Changes and continuities in the modern era in terms of the 5 AP World History themes by Sam San, Abby Lee, and Karthik Chugh.
Interactions between humans and the environment.
European migration to isolated regions such as Hawaii, Australia, and New Zealand decimated indigenous populations because of a lack of immunity. This is largely similar to the devastation suffered by Native American populations by the Columbian Exchange during the early modern era. One of the environmental theme's central topics is the issue of migration, and during the modern era, significant change was that migration patterns shifted, but overall numbers accelerated as a result of industrialization. The establishment of factories created many jobs that people are attracted to, such as the industries made for textiles, automobiles, and steel. The population of North America vastly increased due to rapid migration. For instance, many Chinese people migrated and built railroads and mined on the western half. Many Asians migrated to tropical regions to take up the openings in manual labor in places such as Hawaii to work on plantations provided by industry growth, such as the sugar industry, while Europeans settled in temperate areas to make a living through farming. Even as trends and overall quantity of migration changed during the modern era, its impacts reflected those seen in the early modern period. State building, expansion, and conflict.
The goal was to unite different nationalities into trans-regional empires in order to project political strength. These states aim are continuity because many states throughout history have sought to assemble multi-ethnic empires, like Rome for example. Empires are composed of nations, which makes the people diverse. The powerful states of the modern era did not break from this pattern.
Due to a lack of expansion ability from conflict, there was an accelerated trend of direct and indirect rule over colonies around the globe by European powers. The desire to build a stronger state without borders bolstered colonization efforts and was made possible by technological advancements. The European powers were able to benefit from the raw materials found in the colonies and were able to have influence in the region, a political benefit. For example, Great Britain colonized India, which are known for their tea and textile industries, and utilized them and profited from them. France was able to utilize Southeast Asian resources such as rice and tea. However, native populations grew upset because of increasing European influence. Europeans often held the highest government positions.
Development and transformation of social structures. Social stratification based on ethnic distinctions continued during this time period. During the early modern era, the mixed race classes had been developed during the colonization of Latin America. The classes were distinguished by skin color. In the modern era, despite the political successes of mixed race classes and abolitionists in some areas, social Darwinism perpetuated ethnic hierarchies and preferences by supposedly justifying them. Europeans claimed superiority over other ethnicities where they thought they were being civilization.
During the early modern era, Enlightenment ideals that emphasized natural rights and social freedoms flourished under philosophers such as Voltaire and Locke. One prominent change in the field of gender roles and relations is the emergence of women's suffrage movements and feminism, which accelerated the push for female rights in society. These were inspired by Enlightenment ideals. Feminists such as Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Lucretia Mott, and Frederick Douglass attended the Seneca Falls Convention in 1848, which focused primarily on suffrage, and drafted the Declaration of Sentiments. Creation, expansion, and interaction of economic systems.
Systematic economic gaps between the wealthy and the working classes continued to exist, despite the changes brought about by industrialization. Even as factories and urban centers employed larger workforces, poor condition and wages held back many of the working class members and skewed the immediate economic benefits. For example, peasants lived in cramped tenements, unsanitary, rundown apartments, whereas the wealthy lived in extravagant homes. Labor forces underwent many changes throughout the world as industrialization lowered the standard of working conditions while making previously indentured workers free and mobile. Workers in newly industrialized places such as Russia and Japan were not confined to working on a particular parcel of land. However, industrial factory systems worsened labor conditions, so many workers were not much better off.
Development and interaction of cultures. Governments used belief systems and philosophies to maintain ideological unity. One example is the dynastic cycle. Before using force, the Qing dynasty quelled peasant revolts on moral grounds by arguing that the government still held the mandate. Seeking to unify their subjects around the moral approval of the empire, Qing China used this belief system to legitimize political authority.
Technological advancements in communication, transportation, and military intensification were encouraged by industrialization. For instance, steam-powered boats and trains narrowed the time required to cross vast distances. Communication improved from messages taking weeks to send through ships to the telegraph, which by 1900 made communication faster and united the two hemispheres. Firearms also advanced from muskets to more advanced firearms. As manufacturers developed more powerful munition technology, technological advances accelerated during the modern era because of the unique combination of motives and capabilities.
During the early modern era, Enlightenment ideals had flourished under Voltaire and Locke. Haha, it's a house! And then in the modern era, women were like, oh my god, me too! So then they all met up at Seneca Falls in a house, and they're like, let's just, alright. And then it's Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Lucretia Mott, and Frederick Douglass, aka the only guy. And then they all wanted to vote so bad. And then it's a table, aka Declaration of Sentiments.
Social stratification based on ethnic distinctions continued during this time period.
Stop.
Okay, I'll